Hey there, old man. If you want to see the sun tomorrow, you better cough up all your cash.
I was waiting for my 10-year-old son, who was attending his lessons, when I was approached by a group of 3 young guys. I tried to persuade them to stop, but these youngsters didn't seem to listen at all.
You're annoying, man. If you don't fork over the money, we're seriously gonna do something.
Just then, my son, who had finished his lessons, shouted,
Hey, you guys. It's dangerous. Back off from my dad.
Huh, your dad's the dangerous one here. What's that kid talking about?
In the next moment, the 3 guys. My name is Robert Hamilton. I usually have an indoor job, and I don't have any particular outdoor hobbies, so I don't have much of a tan compared to others my age. I have relatively fair skin with fewer wrinkles. I don't have a particularly athletic physique, and I consider myself an ordinary guy in my 40s, just like anyone else. My wife, Mary, may not be a stunning beauty like a model, but she always carries a soft and cheerful atmosphere around her, and she's well liked by kids and animals. That hasn't changed since we first met. And our precious 10-year-old son, Kevin. We were living peacefully as a family of 3.
Kevin, it's breakfast time. Wake up.
Mary called out to Kevin's room, but there was no response. Is Kevin still sleeping? He's always such a late riser.
It seems like he was drying late into the night again.
Kevin had a talent for drawing. It wasn't just our bias. He had the skill to back it up, often winning awards in art competitions. He was always drawing, and he loved visiting art museums and exhibitions at least once a month.
Good morning.
Oh, the late riser is up. Good morning. What were you drawing so late last night? Kevin rubbed his eyes and held his sketchbook tightly by his side. He always carried his sketchbook with him, even when playing indoors or going out.
This is a drawing of Mom and Dad from the picnic we went on with you guys the other day.
Oh, I see. Show it to me. Kevin handed me the sketchbook, and then he went to wash his face. I flipped through the sketchbook page by page. There were drawings of me reading the newspaper, Mary cooking in the kitchen, his teachers and friends from school, and on the newest page, a depiction of the clear blue sky and the 2 of us at the park during our picnic. Wow, it's like you captured that moment from that day perfectly.
Amazing. How does he draw so skillfully?
Mary and I admired the drawing.
Whenever I think about drawing something, I watch people and objects while considering how I would depict them. Things like the direction of light and shadows, and what angle would make for a good composition. So, sometimes people say I'm not really listening because I'm so focused on using my eyes.
With a smile on his face and bed hair, Kevin said that, and both Mary and I laughed along with him. It was a moment of happiness. Mary and I had married 17 years ago after a workplace romance, but we struggled to have children. 7 years had passed since our marriage, and just when we were on the verge of giving up, we were finally blessed with our son, Kevin. Every day, he showed us different expressions, and everything he saw was an expression of pure wonder. I used to think that was just a metaphor, but in reality, he was so cute that I could say it didn't hurt to have him in my eyes. However, there was one thing that both Mary and I worried about. Kevin's motor skills were incredibly poor. In kindergarten, he would always be the first one caught in a game of tag, and he couldn't ride playground equipment that other kids found easy, often falling off. He was still a young child, so we thought he could improve with time. But when he entered elementary school, no matter how much he practiced, he couldn't ride a bicycle, and playing catch involved more time fetching the ball than actually playing. He even fell several times on the stairs in our own home, the kind of stairs we always used. He was constantly getting injured, always sporting some kind of bruise. As Kevin grew, our worries multiplied. We tried enrolling him in gymnastics classes to improve his motor skills, but despite the efforts to avoid sprains and dislocations, he couldn't move as the instructors taught him. It seemed like the instructors were also at a loss. After Kevin went into his bedroom, Mary and I had a conversation. I'm at a loss. There's been no progress, huh?
Today, his legs were covered in bruises again. And his elbow bruise hasn't healed it either. I just can't bear to watch.
Yeah, but at this rate, he won't be able to take over the family business. Just then, we heard the sound of the sketchbook falling to the ground. Mary and I turned to the source of the noise, and there was Kevin, standing with his head down. Kevin, you're still awake.
Sorry, Dad, Mom. I'm trying my best, but by the time I figure out how to move my arms and legs, I end up getting hurt.
Mary rushed over and hugged Kevin.
Kevin, you're really trying hard. Both Dad and Mom understand that. You hurt your legs again today, didn't you? You need plenty of rest to heal those injuries. Now, good night.
Kevin, led by Mary, returned to his bedroom. He held his sketchbook and turned towards us, saying, "Good night," with a face on the verge of tears. I sighed, feeling helpless. To cause such injuries to such a young child and burden him with worries was something I didn't want to do anymore. But I knelt in front of my father's altar and sighed deeply. Father, what would you do in times like these? The portrait of my father, with his lips tightly sealed, offered no answers. I finished my beer and sighed again.
Hey, should we stop pushing Kevin to do sports he's not good at?
Mary pleaded with a tearful expression.
He might not excel in physical activities, but he has a talent for art. While it's important to think about the family business, I don't want to see that sad look on his face anymore.
I shared a similar sentiment.
We should give up on what he can't do and focus on developing his talent. I think he'll be happier that way. Let's not take away his smile.
You're right, I was wrong. Forcing him won't make his motor skills any better. Okay, how about we enroll Kevin in an art class? Mary vigorously nodded in agreement with my suggestion. The next morning, Kevin didn't wake up for a while. When Mary knocked on his bedroom door, he responded with a hesitant groan. I called out to him through the door. Kevin, how about visiting an art class today? It's just an observation, okay? There was no response. He probably thought it would be another sports-related class, like gymnastics. It's an art class. As I said that, there was a commotion inside the room, and Kevin opened the door with enthusiasm. With bed hair and a sparkling smile, he looked up at Mary and me. I tousled his hair and told him to get ready. And so, we decided to enroll Kevin in the art class. On the days of the art class, Kevin would eagerly pull on my arm, carrying his art supplies, urging me to get ready. I thought that this repetitive motion might have improved his strength. On that day, too, I drove Kevin to the art class and waited in the convenience store parking lot, sipping coffee while he attended the class. Suddenly, a group of 3 young people dressed in flashy outfits approached. One had sunglasses, one had a hat pulled low over their eyes, and one was wearing a mask. They were probably teenagers, slowly walking towards me. When my gaze locked with the masked individual and I didn't look away, he clenched his fist right in front of me.
Hey man, we're short on cash and struggling. Can you help us out?
As the guys approached, trying to avoid them, my back hit the wall. These young men were tall, and I found myself surrounded by the 3 of them. Well, sorry, but I don't have enough money to give to strangers without expecting anything in return.
How much do you have? If you want to see the sun tomorrow, hand over all your cash.
Sunglasses guy said that, flashing something from his pocket. I don't want to ruin the future of these young men with potential in a place like this. Stop it. Don't ruin your lives over something like this.
Shut up. If you don't give us money, we'll seriously mess you up.
As the guy with the hat touched or didn't touch my shoulder, in that moment, a distant voice could be heard.
Hey, you guys, back off from my dad.
Huh, is that your kid? The one in danger here is your dad. What's that brat saying?
We're gonna take you down. Let's go.
The next moment, the 3 men were simultaneously thrown, spread-eagled at the edge of the parking lot.
Ah, that's why I told you to stay away from Dad.
The 3 of them swiftly got up and looked around, scanning their surroundings. It seemed like they had no idea what had just happened. Kevin ran up to me, so I told him to wait in the car.
What just happened?
Did we teleport just now?
It wasn't unreasonable. I remembered having a similar reaction the first time I experienced this technique. Sunglasses were blown off, the mask came off, and the faces of the men who were revealed were still young. They were big in stature, but maybe around middle school age. I watched as the 3 of them got back up. Naturally, they didn't seem to be injured.
Man, what did you just do?
It is a technique to throw a large number of people at once without injuring them. It is one of the secret techniques that I teach my students in class, combined with traditional techniques. I said that, and the 3 of them applauded.
Well, who are you, old man?
I'm Robert Hamilton, the 14th generation inheritor of the self-defense art known as the Hamilton style, which has been passed down since the early modern era. You're not hurt, are you?
Yes, we're fine. Even though we were thrown so far, we don't have a scratch.
Of course, in the Hamilton style, we don't harm our opponents. Strength exists to protect justice is our motto. Are you guys students around here?
Yes, we're from M Middle School. I'm Hill, and these are Cook and Davis.
What, if you say M Middle School, that's a prestigious private middle school, right? Don't do stupid things and ruin your future. Your families aren't poor, right?
Well,
The atmosphere had changed from earlier, and they now had a timid and serious demeanor. When I listened to their story, I learned that all 3 of them came from well-to-do families, and this was the first time they had ever done something like this. They explained that they had been struggling to keep up with the rigorous studies at a prestigious middle school and were labeled as outsiders. Gradually, they began skipping school. All 3 of them had a deep admiration for strength, as they found studying difficult. They believed that if they became stronger than anyone else, they could excel in a different field and become the best. As they engaged in competitions of strength against students from nearby schools, They gained a reputation for being fearsome. However, they soon realized they had gone too far and couldn't turn back. To prove themselves, they had decided to do something like what happened today.
The Hamilton style. It's amazing. You took down all three of us, and it felt like we were facing a hero of justice, not getting injured.
We were just running away from studying because we couldn't handle it. We realized it was lame. We're sorry.
They bowed deeply as they apologized. The guy in the hat glanced inside the car at my son.
We also did something bad to your kid. Sorry.
What's the matter? You guys aren't bad at all. Promise me you won't do something like this again, for your own sake and for others' sake.
Yes.
These young men were genuinely sorry and concerned about Kevin. Despite their misguided actions, they had the potential to become good young men who could walk the right path if they corrected themselves. I got in the car, and as we left the parking lot, I saw them bowing in the rearview mirror, feeling relieved. When we got home, my son excitedly told my wife about today's events.
Dad was amazing today. He did the Hamilton throw on all three of them. The guys even apologized.
Huh, what happened? Did you get into a fight?
No, we were just approached by some guys, but when we talked to them, they understood. They were nice guys, just a bit too strong for their own good, maybe.
That's what young kids are like. Full of energy.
My wife said while preparing dinner. My son looked sad.
I'm not as athletic as Dad. I can't inherit the boxing class, and I can't inherit the Hamilton style that's been passed down since the early modern era. I'm sorry.
My wife quickly hugged him. I realized I had burdened such a young child with too much. Kevin, I'm sorry. I've put you through a lot of tough and painful things. Even when you went to gymnastics class, I bet you didn't want to go, but you did it because you were worried about the family business. Thank you, Kevin. You have your own good qualities. Even if you wanted artistic talent, there are many people who can't have it, no matter how much they want it. Besides, new talents may bloom in the future. You can't choose where you're born or your talents. But I want you to know that you're lucky to have been born to mom and dad. We won't make you go through any more pain or hardship. If you can feel a lot of happiness and show us your smile, that's enough. Kevin, you'll walk your own path. As I finished speaking, Mary nodded strongly. The Hamilton style has been passed down through a single family for 14 generations. However, I intend to let Kevin follow his own path. Even though our father and ancestors might be saddened by it, I believe they will understand. It felt like we had finally been freed from the worries we had been carrying until now, as Mary and I sat on the couch, simply gazing at the setting sun. Kevin was envisioning that scene. It was like a picture of a vivid orange color gradually fading into the night, serene and clear like a peaceful heart. Some time later, one day, the doorbell rang, so I went outside. To my surprise, the three boys who had confronted us in the parking lot were now standing there with cleanly shaved heads. What's going on? Anything on your minds?
We want to apologize for the trouble we caused the other day. So, we searched for the Hamilton class and came here today.
It seemed that these three had abandoned their baggy clothes and were now wearing the uniforms of a prestigious private middle school, even though it was a Sunday. Well, since we're just standing here talking, come on in.
Sorry for the sudden visit. Thank you for having us.
I led the three of them into our home's living room, and Mary prepared some tea. Understanding that they were the same trio from before, she warmly welcomed them.
We're truly sorry for what happened the other day. We thought we wouldn't even be allowed to cross the threshold of this house after what we did. But Mr. Hamilton accepted us. Your generosity has left a deep impression on us.
We've come today to make a request.
Please, allow us to learn the Hamilton-style techniques passed down in the Hamilton family at the class.
These three seemed different from the boys we encountered earlier. They had entered a prestigious private middle school and were determined to express their sincere intentions. However, I couldn't teach them the secret techniques of the Hamilton style, which had been passed down for generations only within the Hamilton family. After some contemplation, I spoke up. I can't teach you the Hamilton style, as it's meant to be passed down within the Hamilton family. However, I can accept you as a student for our regular jiu-jitsu training in the class. How about it? Would you like to give it a try and train in boxing?
Yes, please.
In the following days, they obtained permission from their parents and arrived at the class, each carrying a carefully prepared gift. We didn't mention the incident in the parking lot, but the letters from their parents expressed gratitude, stating that they were thankful for their son's change of heart. I changed into my training wear, and we began with warm-up exercises. I was astonished by the potential these three young students showed. They demonstrated remarkable flexibility, dynamic visual perception, quick reflexes, and an extraordinary level of concentration. They seemed to have undergone prior training, were accustomed to fighting, and had excellent reflexes. I looked forward to seeing where their training would take them. After the first day's practice, they changed into their regular clothes and headed back towards their homes.
About today, we'd like to express our gratitude, or rather, apologize for what happened earlier. If there's anything we can help with, please let us know. We feel like we haven't moved our bodies enough.
Their inherent sincerity shone through in their considerate offer. We decided to accept their help with tasks like changing light bulbs and dismantling large pieces of garbage, which we had been struggling with. They also volunteered to help with weeding around the classroom and polishing the signboard. Despite our initial encounter, it was fortunate that we had forged this connection. I handed them sports drinks, and within seconds, the bottles were empty, and their large beads of sweat glistened. That night, after Kevin had gone to bed, Mary and I were having a drink. "Hey, Mary, I've been thinking about the future of the Hamilton style," I began. The secret techniques of the Hamilton style, which have been passed down from generation to generation. Now that I've allowed Kevin to choose his own path, should I let it end during my generation? Or should I select those with talent and pass it on to them? Though it's a closely guarded secret, should we consider spreading it as a form of self-defense for the chosen ones? When I proposed this, even Mary agreed with the idea. With that decided, it's time to recruit students for the class. Kevin offered to create a poster for recruiting students. It was heartwarming to see our family working together like this. Many children and their parents came to visit the class. From among them, I started recruiting those who were interested and began teaching them the secret techniques of the Hamilton style. Of course, the trio from before also expressed their desire to learn. It's not something that can be easily mastered, but those three with strong physiques truly excelled. In time, I succeeded in passing on the secret techniques of the Hamilton style to the first group of hopeful students. Some gave up midway, and others couldn't quite master it, but I was happy to spread the joy of boxing and the importance of martial arts etiquette. A desire grew within me to make the secrets of the Hamilton style known to the general public. Mary, Kevin, the trio, and all our students were in agreement with this idea, and were cooperative when it came to public relations efforts. Then, one day, a man came to the class expressing his desire to join. However, there was something odd about him. He was tall with a bulky physique, and his body seemed to naturally carry the weight that came with excess muscle. He wore an old, stretched-out t-shirt and had unkempt hair that hung down haphazardly. In his late 30s or early 40s, his communication skills seemed surprisingly immature. When I asked for his identification, he claimed he didn't have it with him today. I suggested he come back with his identification on another day, but he insisted that he couldn't take time off from work, and today was his only available day. I wondered if he could commit to attending the class if he didn't have the time, but he replied that he would use his paid vacation days, so it wouldn't be an issue. He was determined to join no matter what. I firmly told him to leave, but he stubbornly refused to budge. The inconsistencies in his conversation and his behavior raised suspicions.
Seriously, you don't seem like the boss of this class at all. You look so pale and weak. I doubt I could win even if I were to challenge you, the man sneered,
eyeing me from head to toe. Just then, Mary arrived with tea in hand.
Oh, do you not know much about the Hamilton style? It's not limited to body type, and once you've mastered the techniques, even a big guy like you could get thrown effortlessly.
Mary, step aside.
That can't be true, can it? Should we give it a try?
The man said as he suddenly grabbed Mary's slender wrist. In the next moment, a scream, "Oh my God," echoed from Mary. The students in the class also gathered quickly upon hearing her unusual scream.
What's going on?
I sighed and pointed. Beyond, the man was sprawled out on the floor. Seemingly unable to grasp the situation, he stared blankly at the ceiling.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He grabbed my wrist, so I instinctively used a technique.
Mary said this, hiding her face with an apologetic expression. The man slowly got up and glared at Mary, me, and the students without saying a word before leaving the class. It was a relief that I had taught Mary the advanced techniques of the Hamilton style for her self-defense. The technique had been executed cleanly, and we had managed to repel the man without injuring him. However, I wondered what had been the man's purpose for coming to the class. I emphasized the importance of securing the premises to everyone. A few days later, I received a report from one of the students that the suspicious man from the other day was observing us from the street. Since we were in the middle of practice, I asked everyone to take a break and went out to the street. When the man noticed me, he bowed politely. I approached him with caution, ready to defend myself. "Do you have any business at our class?"
I wanted to become a disciple.
The man said hesitantly, casting his eyes down. I was astonished. After behaving so rudely, he wanted to become a disciple. I couldn't fathom what was going through his mind. With a sigh, I asked the man, "Did you bring your identification?"
I don't have anything to prove my identity. To be honest, I'm 18 years old, and ever since I failed the university entrance exam, I've been a shut-in. My parents spoiled me, saying it was their fault for forcing me to take the exam, and I've never worked until I was this age. I spent my days indoors, surfing the internet, reading manga, watching anime, and my parents provided me with food and everything I needed. I thought I'd live my entire life like that. But one day, I got inspired by a character in a manga. I realized that I might be able to change, that I'm the protagonist of my own life, and it wasn't right to immerse myself in fiction created by others. So I started by opening the curtains. Then I opened the windows. That's when I heard it. Laughter and joy coming from this class. You see, our house is right across from your class. My parents are aware of Hamilton as well, so I thought coming here might change something in my life. But after that day when a seemingly frail woman threw me, I lost my confidence. Maybe I can't become strong. Maybe I can't live a normal life outside.
The man's voice trembled, and he broke into sobs. I was completely caught off guard by his unexpected confession. Standing there in bewilderment, unsure of what to say, then Kevin called out to me from behind.
There must be something you can do too.
The man sniffled in response to Kevin's words and lifted his head, wiping his nose.
I also struggled with a lack of athletic ability, and I felt terrible because my parents had high expectations for me. But my parents gave me a different path. Now our family, all three of us, are working together to create a new form of the Hamilton style. I'm helping too. So, there must be something you can do, and let's find it together. Since you came all the way to the class, you'll learn more than just boxing here.
The man nodded with determination, his tears still flowing. However, I felt more relieved than he did. Kevin had been thinking this way all along, and he had grown up into a remarkable young man. Let me talk to your parents. We'll work together to create a brighter future for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
The man, now introduced as Murphy, said as he shook my hand firmly. Afterward, I had a conversation with Murphy's parents, and he joined the class as a novice disciple. Time passed, and Kevin became a high school student. While his athletic abilities hadn't improved much, he had grown taller and turned into quite an artistic and charming young man, popular even among the girls at school.
Mom, Dad, how about publishing a book introducing the Hamilton style?
Kevin suddenly suggested, causing me and Mary to exchange surprised glances.
I'll draw illustrations for the technical explanations. Let's create a book that helps people understand the Hamilton style just by looking at it, and let's spread it to the world.
Kevin, who said that while smiling at Mary and me, looked very reliable. From there, things proceeded smoothly. We self-published the book and were able to place it in the classroom of acquaintances. This garnered attention, and aspiring disciples started coming to the Hamilton class one after another. Based on Murphy's advice, we heard that we should utilize the internet in this day and age, so we began offering online courses. Subsequently, Murphy, who was skilled with computers, proactively helped us, and we even started our own YouTube channel. The number of subscribers skyrocketed. The class's disciples continued to increase, eventually leading to the expansion of the class itself. This became the busiest and most fulfilling days we had ever experienced. Initially, the book was self-published, but due to its positive reception on the internet, word of mouth, and diligent marketing, we managed to have it officially published by a publishing company. We were invited to book release events and even to various regions as sports-related YouTubers, where we also demonstrated the secret techniques. Who could have predicted back then that the trio from those days would be the ones performing these techniques? Apart from the trio, Other disciples actively contributed by working as security or salespeople at events. Murphy also utilized his computer skills to create various systems. With everyone in the class working together, we were able to build up the Hamilton style. Seeing everyone living their lives with smiles on their faces made me the happiest. As for the disciples training, these days, the trio is in charge while Mary and I handle paperwork.
Let's take a little break. It looks like today is going to be a long one.
You're right, without a breather, it's not like when we were young. I stretched myself out and cracked my joints. Mary watched and smiled.
Back then, I never imagined we'd end up like this.
Indeed, thinking about it now, every event that transpired was crucial. Even Kevin's lack of athletic ability might have been a gift from the heavens. Back in those days when I had resigned myself to not passing on the Hamilton style, it was a time of self-disappointment, and the caring gestures of Mary and Kevin weighed heavily on me. Now, we were surrounded by numerous successors, and the Hamilton style flourished widely. It would continue to be passed down for a long, long time. The fact that more people, regardless of age or gender, could protect themselves was a wonderful thing. There were days when Kevin would cry, apologizing for feeling like he couldn't be of help to me. But now, he not only drew illustrations for explanations but also created illustrations for match pamphlets and dojo flyers. His significant contributions were a source of pride for our family. Murphy had completely moved on from his shut-in days and was now employed at an IT company, all while helping with the dojo's system-related tasks. If we hadn't run into those three troublemakers that day, sometimes I think about that. I'm sure things might not have turned out like they are now. In life, you never know what will become a turning point. That's why everyone strives to live to the best of their abilities. I, too, will continue to do my best in what I can do. Together with the trusted companions,